welcome, welcome, welcome. How's everyone feeling? Today I wanted to come on and do a little Tao reading. Let me get my volume up here. Today I was going to drop us into the now moment and see what's here to learn from. So today, according to the Gene Keys, we are in the collective shadow of judgment, the judgment days. This is the gift of integrity. One word that comes from this word integrity is the word integration. This is integration season. The judgment days, the times that we go through our moral inventory. How have we been in integrity or not in integrity? The divine expression of this gene or the city is perfection. Everything is perfect as it is, as well as my desire for it to be different. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for dropping into this moment with me. Today I am inviting in just a collective moment, a check-in. I want to feel how everybody's doing. I am so grateful that you're joining. I am going to be sharing a message from the Tao, and as we wait for some people to get in here, I just want to feel into the space and feel how everybody's doing. This is integration period. We just had the equinox and we're coming into the second half of the year. For those of us that are in the Northeast, we're coming into fall, into winter, and this is the integration period of decay, as things are falling away. And, here in Florida, we've got hurricane season. We just had Helene last week, so we're just integrating all of these lessons that are coming in. The shadow this week of this collective energy, according to the Gene Keys, is judgment. So it asks us, how are we doing in the decay, in the death portal, in the rebirth, in the transmutation portal? How are we all collectively feeling? We're getting ready for the new moon to come in. It comes in tomorrow with a ring of fire solar eclipse in the sign of Libra. So we've got right now this energy that's kicking up. It's the sun and the moon in the air sign of Libra. Libra, according to the tarot, is the scales card. It's the justice. It restores everything back into balance. So right now we have the sun restoring things back into balance. We also have the moon restoring everything back into balance. So we've got this dark Lilith goddess energy that's been coming up. And this dark Lilith is bringing us into this new moon. We have a new moon tomorrow. It's not just any new moon. This is actually a beginning and an ending, because what we're ending is this eclipse that started last October in the sign of Libra. So we can think about some collective events that happened last October, and this was the beginning of eclipse season. So starts off with a bang, and now we have the end of this eclipse coming tomorrow, and it's a ring of fire. It's a new moon. It's about restoring balance, bringing things back into neutrality. So this is a time to ask ourselves, what are we advocating for? What are we saying no more to? New moons are times that we plant the seeds. We go within and we say, what do we want to have? What do we want to bring in for this next 28-day lunar cycle, especially for women? This is our portal of creation. This is the gestation period, every 28 days. So when we use the new moon really intentionally, which is my invitation today, is add this awareness to what's going on in the cosmos so that we can support ourselves right here in the Maya, in our version of the reality that we're experiencing. So I'd love to drop in a message from the Tao today. We learned a little bit about the astrology. So we've got the sun, the moon, air signs, Libra, justice, bringing us back to balance. We have a solar eclipse tomorrow, the ending of something, while also the catalyzing of a new beginning, because we have the new moon. unknown. So we've got a lot of paradox here. We're always going to find truth in the paradox. Truth for me is my life's work and my brand, according to the Gene Keys. So let's get into it. We're using Ma Deva Padma's deck here from the Tao Oracle. This is the collective frequency that we're feeling. It's number 18, work on what has been spoiled. This is the imagery there. This is what we may be feeling collectively right now. As empaths, this is what we may be feeling in our environment. So when we add this awareness to it, we start to resource ourselves like, okay, yeah, is that my story, or am I just tapping into it, feeling it in the collective? Whatever it is, once I know what it is with conscious awareness, I start to align and attune to the environment. So now I'm regulating my nervous system. So no matter what turbulence is out there, I can weather the storm. So a couple keywords here: healing, correct past mistakes, make repairs, clean up corruption, restore balance, and responsible action. Today is Tuesday. Today is governed by Mars. Mars is a planet of action. It gets shit done. New moon's also a time to get shit done. And this is in our beingness a lot of times with the new moons. It's not always the productivity of to get everything done. We get shit done in a meditation. We get shit done. So, interesting play on words here. So this is what is the message for the collective that is coming through to be shared. If you're on this, I hope that you can receive this with love and light in your heart. I hope this adds an illuminated thought. I hope this sparks an idea and insight to help support you during this time. Because we're also, according to the Gene Keys, this is the judgment day. So this is the time we do the moral inventory. Like, okay, well, we've got this ring of fire, new moon, the moon is void in the sky. We feel this void, this emptiness, this space. How do we perceive that? Okay, so here we go. If you put your dinner leftovers in the fridge where you don't see them for days on end, eventually they start to grow moldy and stink. The same thing happens with mistakes and difficulties that we refuse to deal with. We can pretend we don't know about them or disguise them with the fragrance of other more pleasant affairs, but all our mistakes and difficulties are learning opportunities. And when the use-by date passes, the smell of decay has a way of intruding itself into every corner of the house. When that happens, it's time to face reality. Any further efforts to cover the decay with flowers or with rationalizations won't work. It's the moment of truth when all efforts to avoid facing the facts must come to an end. The first place to look is within yourself. Without denial or efforts to avoid facing the facts must come to an end. The first place to look is within yourself. Without denial or efforts to avoid facing the facts must come to an end. The first place to look is within yourself. Without denial or efforts to avoid facing the facts must come to an end. The first place to look is within yourself. Without denial or attributed to the downward spiral, because unless this work is done first, nothing else can change. By correcting any tendencies to make assumptions, post things, or pretend indifference, you begin to restore the balance. From the center point of your own being, a ripple effect radiates outwards, and the gradual process of healing can begin. Finding the way to correct spoiled circumstances will require patience and tolerance of your own and others' inadequacies and limitations. If the negligence of others has contributed some part to the corruption, it's wise to avoid head-on confrontations. Their lessons are theirs to learn in their own ways. The message of the hexagram of work on what has been spoiled is primarily directed with the one who receives it, and the message is to do the inner work needed to prevent a recurrence of the situation in the future. If, after careful consideration of the detached and contemplative kind, it's clear that it's needed is to take a break from the whole affair, then it should not be out of anger or vindictiveness. Instead, see it as restorative time for cleaning up your own act. By sincerely attending to cleaning up your own affairs and attitudes, you'll be facilitating a restoration of balance on a larger scale and setting a positive example for others. The tragedy of ecological disasters brought on by human negligence is something we have all witnessed in the media or even firsthand. Most of us weren't directly involved in the creation of these crises, but we all participate in gross, irresponsible thinking or doing at some time or another. Our internal attitudes set the tone for our reality. We create oil slicks in our relationships and toxic spills within our own minds. We dump mental garbage on loved ones, friends, and neighbors. We allow our emotional fires to run rampant, destroying all that comes into its path. Begin the work of cleaning up and restoring balance in your own small self first. Give it your total love and attention. Be forgiving and absolutely diligent. You and the world will be better for it. Bottom line. So I'm going to share the 6 lines of this gene. So there may be 6 ways that we interact with it, 6 lines of the hexagram, 6 lines if you're familiar with the gene keys. So this is line 1. This might be the lone wolf or the introverted expression, the expression of self. Sometimes the source of corruption is ingrained so deeply in one's characteristics, way of doing things, that the work of change feels like uprooting one's very identity. If this is your situation, it's an extraordinary opportunity. Any changes that you're able to make will benefit you in ways you cannot even imagine right now. So the most impactful thing that we can do is recognize that our contribution is our vibratory state. So when we can maintain a vibration that's regulated, that actually gets to ripple out as sacred service for others, simply maintaining a nourished nervous system. Okay, line 2, this might come up in relationships. It often happens that when we want to avoid facing something painful, we can draw loved ones and friends into the conspiracy. If you have participated in such a scheme, remember that their help has likely been given sincerely, even if not wisely in the end. As you begin to face up the reality and do your part to repair the damage that's been done, be respectful of the feelings of others and take care not to blame them for anything that was, after all, initiated by you. Line 3, we might feel this in our small network. When circumstances have reached such a critical point that any attempt you can make in the direction of correcting the wrongs is a step in the right direction, don't be afraid to take it. The sooner the better, because until this much needed cleanup has happened, there can be no beginnings. You're gonna go through that compost, man. It's the new moon. This is when we do the moral inventory. How did we use the last 28-day cycle? Are we really proud of what we accomplished? Did we accomplish anything? Can we set a new intention to accomplish something if that lights us up and brings us joy? So no judgment on what comes up here. We're just compassionately witnessing. So line 4, maybe this is on a grander scale. Maybe you're feeling this at work or in society. It's disturbing to feel you've let someone down, or to admit mistakes, or that your best clearly isn't good enough. Pretending everything is fine when it isn't doesn't work. Manipulation through flattery or coercion through threats are non-win techniques that will just keep the situation stuck. When the moment comes to own up to your own shortcomings and take responsibility, it can seem like the end of the world, but it's not. All right, line 5. This is the power that we can use. It is essential to admit to yourself first that healing is needed. Then commit wholeheartedly to restoring the balance without delay. Once this process has begun, everything begins to shift. The external effects may not be obvious for some time, but within your own mind, something will have already begun to relax. So hopefully in this little pause here, you've been able to relax into the space. Maybe take a deep breath. Let's do that together now. Breathing all the way into the base of the pelvic floor, feeling your lungs, feeling this expansion, maybe holding for a beat. And then releasing, letting something go, softening something. Last line, line 6. This is the wild card. Line 6 is in the gene keys. You don't know what they're going to do with it. I have a line 6. Beware of the tendency to congratulate yourself for having known it all along, or actually being in a position to now to say, I told you so. It might be true, but your energy is better spent on tending your own garden and enjoying your own flowers. Grateful that it'll be easier to smell the roses now that the garbage dump down the road is being cleaned up. So here we are literally experiencing the integration period after Hurricane Helene, and going through the process of cleaning up and rebuilding. catastrophic devastation, and yet these are just signs of the times that we are experiencing these cataclysmic shifts, these sudden surges of energy that come through like a storm in our system. We can see it on the Doppler, we can see it in the energies. So this is our time to really come together as a community. If we feel the shadow of judgment, just remember that everything that we judge will be reflected outside of us until we no longer judge it. And then it will no longer be reflected outside of us. So everything is here on Earth School to learn from. So if you're being triggered by something, if you're being activated by something, good, because that's where the medicine needs to get in, because that is your body informing you right now. The information, the wisdom of your intelligence is coming through to say, hey, we are ready to heal something that we weren't ready to heal when it happened. So let's go ahead, let's feel that feeling, let's notice where we feel it in our body. We've been triggered, we've been activated. Okay, start to explore it. Start to get into a meditative place, get curious, ask questions. Maybe there's visuals that start to come, maybe voices or messages start to come. But allow yourself these pauses, these spaces. This is how we heal. This is how we actually cellularly regenerate, so that we're constantly being reborn, so that we recognize that the death, the dark night of the ego, that happens every 28 days, if not more. We can say that happens every 24-hour cycle. You know, what baggage do we want to carry into the next day, into the next life? You know, for those of us that are in sobriety, we know that moral inventory. There's not a day that I don't have my head hit that pillow to review the day. How did things go during the day? What could I have done better? What can I release judgment around? This is the gift of integrity. How can I come back to the morality of how I honored my time this week? If I invested money into corrupt companies, there's going to be a time that doesn't feel in alignment for me, and I start to pull my money out of that. You know, as an entrepreneur, I've definitely reinvested my time and my energy in ways that feel good to me, because these are the ways that are sustainable. These are the things that are good for the greater whole. And so this is what we're collectively going through right now, is this dark night of the ego. It's not a dark night of the soul. The soul knows no dark nights. This is a time for us to be reborn, and we're going to have this ring of fire solar eclipse that says, what are we not going to do anymore? What are we not going to fund? I know I don't want this country to fund genocide. Ceasefire now. You know, what are we not going to stand for? I'm not going to go and fuel my time and my energy and my resources into corrupt politicians and things that are not humane. So this gift of integration, this is literally restoring humanity, being humane, having our own moral compass, not just doing what the herd does, but actually feeling into doing what feels good. And there is no wrong way to do what is authentic and feels good to us. And that's the perfection of our design. And that is the most divine expression of this gene right now, is to notice the judgment, accept it for what it is, see it with that omniscience, that 360 view. So you're not a victim, you're not the rescuer, you're not an archetype in this story. You watch this story, you understand this story, so you now compassionately witness this story. This is the integrity that you put into this story. To live is to suffer, to survive is to find meaning in the suffering. This is our integration period. This is when we find meaning in our suffering, and that leads to these moments of perfection, when we can say everything is exactly as it should be. The most sacred thing is what is, otherwise it wouldn't be happening. Because believe it or not, if you've got some faith and you're willing to trust, this universe is pretty freaking miraculous, and the perfection of its design is amazing. And when you can become informed by your environment and learn from it and be in on the cosmic joke, it's a whole other way to experience this vibrational reality. You're no longer a victim to your suffering, you're a co-creator with life. I wish you all the perfection reflection of this design. Welcome to integration period. Welcome to this new moon. Welcome to the end of the solar eclipse in Libra. May you restore equality and justice within so that we can experience it without. 7 times 7 times 7 generations forward and 7 times 7 times 7 generations back for the highest and greatest good for all beings. Namaste.